Okay, so you guys have been asking for me to do a foundation, contour, concealer type of video for a while now, and I haven't done it because my skin has been so bad. And so what I did is I went to the med spa the other day and kind of found out what was going on with my skin. And basically she told me I was having hormonal acne, and it's caused by the change in my birth control. And I was like, what? I wish I'd known that. So I'm gonna be switching, which is obvious. But because of that, I've had really temperamental skin, and it's been very difficult to keep it happy. But thank God for makeup, right? So I am gonna go ahead, even with my skin being what it is, show you my routine of foundation, exactly how I get my skin to be covered nicely, my favorite ways of doing my contour, and a really in-depth idea of how to do all of that. Just so you guys get some information and background on my skin type, I do have oily skin in my T-zone. I do get slightly dry right under my under eye, so I have to be very careful with that. But otherwise, you know, my skin's not terrible. I do have kind of slightly enlarged pores right here, somewhat bigger on this side, so I'm always working to cover that up as well. So the very first thing I do for myself, because I have slightly bigger pores and I do get oily in my T-zone, is I go in with a primer, and this is a must to make sure my foundation lays nicely over it. I do not use a moisturizing primer because my skin's already oily, right? That would just ruin the whole idea. If you have dry skin, maybe that's what works for you, but it does not work for me. So for me, I need to use something that is pore filling. My favorite primer is the Professional, okay? And this is oil-free, it's lightweight, it's translucent, and it's incredibly silky, and it does actually blur and minimize my pores. And it even blurs and minimizes some of my fine lines. I put it on my mom's like little crow's feet right here, and she was like, what? That's crazy. I was like, yeah, I know. So I just take a really small amount, if you guys know, like, you don't want to overdo it, literally this much. And I will pop this right in my T-zone and then blur outwards. So the next step is to go ahead and put on foundation. So there's a couple different types of foundation. I feel like a long wearing matte foundation is gonna be best for my skin type. And my favorite for that is the Forever Undercover Dior foundation. This one is in shade 020. This is very long wearing, and it's the only one that doesn't separate on my T-zone after, you know, a good 6 hours. So I do think this is long wearing. If you want it to last a full 24 hours, you are gonna have to bake. You are gonna have to use a lot of setting spray. You might have to touch up throughout the day, but it does work very, very well. This is pretty pricey, but worth it for the type of coverage that you're getting. Now, I know on Instagram you're constantly seeing people dot foundation all over their face. The problem with that is you can end up getting way too much and you have nowhere to blend it, and that's how you get really, really cakey. So if you want to have a really nice even foundation, you're going to want to put some on the back of your hand and either dip your foundation brush, or you're going to want to dip your beauty blender onto your hand to grab the right amount and pounce it over your face. Again, we don't want to look cakey, okay? So I like to use a beauty blender, but I also really like to use a brush. This is the Morphe Y6, and then I also have another one by Morphe. It came in their face and eye palette, and it looks like this. And it does not, this one doesn't have a name, but they both work really well for getting foundation onto your face really evenly and a lot quicker, in my opinion, than a beauty blender. It's just gonna depend on the type of application that you prefer. So I like to start on one side of my face and work inwards. And I'm literally like pat and pressing it. I'm not just like sweeping it all over my face like that. I'm literally press and swiping it. And look how great that coverage is. All of my redness, all of my spots, all of that is just completely wiped away by this foundation. Make sure you're always dragging that foundation into your hairline up at the top and down your chin. You don't want to take it all the way down your neck, obviously, but you do want it to lightly blend up into the hairline and into the, you know, sometimes I see people who just stop at their jaw and it's like, ooh, that is not a good look. It does not look natural. So you want to always take it a little bit below the jaw and blend it into the rest of your neck so that everything looks seamless, flawless, perfect. Now, there are some pores right here and sometimes in the crease of your nose that you're not able to get to with this. And so what I will literally do is put my finger in here, pull my nose over. I know this looks really gross. Pull my nose over and make sure it's stippled in there, because that way when you turn or throughout the day as it wears, you're not seeing like a huge crease line of where your foundation was supposed to be. Now that we have our face all one solid color, it's time to bring the light back out into your face. So that's what we're doing with highlight and with contouring. Highlighting is bringing things forward, and then the contour is pulling things back, right? So anything we want to bring forward, anything that's dark, we want to bring forward with that highlight. So what I'm going to be using for highlighting today is this MAC Pro Longwear Concealer. This one is in shade NC15. Just gonna shake that. And what I like to do is again, pump this onto the back of my hand, and then I'm gonna go in with my Beauty Blender and dab that under my eye. Just to make sure your concealer doesn't go on too opaque, it's not too like, oh my God, it's not blending. I always like to go in with a damp Beauty Blender, and so this will just help make sure it spreads evenly and it's not cakey on the face. I like to use my Tarte Ready Set Radiant Skin Mist, and this needs to just be shaken a little bit. I spritz this Beauty Blender. I swear it's clean. It's just, you know, turned this color forever. And then I'll pop it into that concealer and bring forth my brightness. Okay, so I start right here in the corner of my eye and I pop it all the way out to my hairline. Now, if you have a wide face, you are not going to want to widen your face further by bringing that out, right? So if you have a wide face, you might want to stop right here. I have a more narrow face, so I want to really bring it out and make it wider. So I'm going to bring the concealer wide on my face. Oh, she's light. I like to bring it right up to the side of the nose where the nose contour will be. And then almost down in a triangle. This will be a great eye primer when it comes time to doing my eyes. All right, so the next things I want to bring forward is just the bridge of my nose. I also want to bring forward just a little bit here in the middle of my face. If you don't bring any light to the middle of your face, it's gonna look really crazy if it's just underneath your eyes. So you wanna balance out your cheeks by hitting up a little bit on your forehead and a little bit on your chin. Now, I have a tall forehead in my opinion and a very long chin, so I'm not trying to bring those forward too much, so I just do a little bit, and mainly I put a lot of contour on those areas. I just do right here, kind of like a little mini triangle above that, and I bring it right down the center of my nose, and then right on top of my chin, and blend that out. Now, if you have a very small chin, you're gonna want to highlight the entire area, and that's gonna bring it forward and make it look larger. The next steps are to bake and to contour, right? So we just put down a lot of concealer. We wanna make sure that that looks natural, that it sets really well, it doesn't cake throughout the day, it's not gonna break up, especially on an oily face. So the next thing we wanna do is use translucent powder. I am out of my Laura Mercier translucent powder, which is my absolute favorite. I'm just gonna go in with this Sephora translucent powder. It's what I have available at the moment. You can use a brush, but I like to go in with my already dampened beauty blender and dip into the powder and just dab that over anywhere I put that concealer, mainly under my under eye right here. You're not gonna drag this across your face. That's gonna create a lot of creasing. Just tap and pounce it across the face. That's why I don't like using a brush, because sometimes it can look streaky. Now, it is important to set the rest of your face with powder as well. If you're oily, this is a huge important factor. But even if you're not oily, this is important because when you're doing a powder contour, you want it to go on really smooth. If your foundation is even a little bit wet, it's gonna look streaky and cakey. So you wanna set the whole face. That way, when you do go in with that powder contour, it goes on super silky and really smooth. Dip into that powder and lightly dust that over the rest of my face. Get up into my forehead. And now the shining star, the contour. We have made our face all one color. Then we brought it out with the light, and so it looks super weird right now. And now what we need to do is add in the contrasting color, which is the contour shade. For bronzers, I really like the Hoola Matte Bronzer and the Hoola Light. Today I'm gonna be using the Too Faced Chocolate Soleil Longwear Matte Bronzer. With bronzer, you just wanna make sure it's not too warm for your skin tone. That's the only thing. That can make you look orange, obviously. For a contour brush, you just wanna make sure it's something that's super soft, yet has a lot of sturdiness to it, right? So when you're brushing, it's not too flimsy. You wanna have some direction with where you're going, but it needs to be super soft where it doesn't create streaks in your foundation or the concealer or anything you've already placed on your face. I like this one. I don't even remember where I got it. I don't try to be too specific with where I place it because I go in later with powder to clean up the edging and make sure that it's exactly where I want it. The tip with contouring is you always want to start at your ear and draw it towards the corner of your mouth. That's where your cheekbone typically is. And you can feel your cheekbone, right? So it's right here. You want to go just below the cheekbone, and that is what's going to carve it out and give it that nice sharp look. So I can feel my cheekbone here, so I'm going to go right below it, which is at the center of my ear, and I'm going to take it right here. You can take it farther depending on your skin type. My pores get big right here, so I'm not trying to focus anything on that. I concentrate it the most right up here, and then I drag it lightly down because you can always build on it. But if you go too hard too soon, it's not gonna be a good look. There, see, that looks really pretty. So now what I'm gonna go and do is, again, with that powder, and I have one of these little doohickeys, which I like. It was at Sephora for like, what, I don't even remember. It was like $8 maybe, but it has these nice little sharp edges, right? So I go ahead and dip that, which is gonna create a really nice crisp line. And if you're just bronzing, this is fine, but if you're looking to actually contour, I'm gonna come up right here and carve it out. And then I'm gonna take the base brush that I used before and come in and just wipe away that powder to give me a really nice, clean cheek. Next, what we have to do though is our chin and our forehead. So I'm gonna do the other side of my face, and I'll be right back to do the rest with you guys. So the forehead's pretty easy. I have kind of a wide forehead. I can fit like 4 fingers on it, right? A 4-finger forehead, they say. So I like to bring my contour pretty far down and around my face. I'm just gonna stick my hair up in a little bun thing to keep it out of my face. Next, we have our chin, and I like to use just a small contour brush. This is the Sigma F05 for this, and I dip really lightly into it. And this is going to chisel out your chin. And I like to bring this up onto my chin a little bit because, again, I'm trying to make it look a little smaller. And so you see what that did? It brightens it up here. We are adding a little contour color here, a little bronzer here, which makes my chin appear smaller. The last thing to contour is the nose, and we cannot forget that because otherwise the rest of the face, it just looks off, right? The balance. So I like to use this Real Techniques brush. It has a really perfect end for contouring. So I just dip that into the contour color, and I take this from the top of the brow on either side of my nose right down the middle. I like to make my nose look a little shorter. The next step in this routine is blush. So I love this Tarte Amazonian Clay 12-hour blush because it is so long lasting. So many blushes just kind of brush away throughout the day. Same thing with highlighter, and this does not go away. And it's such a pretty peach shade, which is great for my skin tone. This is in shade Captivating. I use the Real Techniques multi-tusk brush for this, and I press it into the blush. I do not sweep my blush really. I kind of press it into the skin. Again, it's really easy for my makeup to break up and get cakey, so I do it. So this goes right above the contour and almost kind of in it. All right, now that we have blush, the last step is highlighter. Today, what I'm gonna go in with is my Dandelion Twinkle by Benefit. It looks like this, and it's so pretty. And I will take that right on my cheekbone and a little bit up my the side of my face. So my cheekbone's right here, you can feel it. So it'll go boom, whoo, and up. The other place to highlight, which again just brings everything out into the forefront, is right on the tip of the nose. I like to do one line here and then one dot right there on the very edge. And then once I do brows, it'll be right in the brow bone, right under the brow bone, and then right in the corner of the eye. The last thing you're gonna do for your foundation and for your face is to set your makeup, and you must use a good setting spray. I love the All Nighter setting spray. This is one of my all-time favorites by Urban Decay. It lasted me through multiple weddings and many brides' weddings. And I also really like Fix Plus, and for summer I'm loving the Fix Plus Gold Light, which just adds a nice, beautiful shimmer. Look at that, how beautiful. How beautiful is that? Gorgeous. And it adds a beautiful gold shimmer all over your face. What this does, not only does it make your makeup last longer, but it makes your skin look more like skin, if that makes sense. So it takes all that powder that you've just put on your face and it kind of absorbs it into the skin, gives it more of a skin-like quality to your face. So it's going to give it that glaze that you're gonna want for all day wear, and it's gonna make your makeup look better. And what more can you really ask for? You do not want to raise your eyebrows, do not smile, do not talk while this is setting. Okay, you don't want your smile lines to crease, you don't want any forehead wrinkles, you don't want to lock in a forehead wrinkle. Don't do it. Alright guys, thanks so much for watching my tutorial on how to do your face makeup. Basically showing you your foundation routine. Basically, I was showing you my foundation routine, how I highlight and contour, what I use for blush and highlighter, and how I set my face. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a like. Give it a thumbs up. It's right there in the box, okay? Also hit the subscribe button. I'm about to do an eye look with this palette here. Just a little hint, and that's coming up next week. So if you don't want to miss out on that, I would go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you can make sure to catch it in my next video. All right, guys, so I love you all so much, and I will see you next Tuesday.